Yeah, she brought her projector and her laptop, and I brought a what's called a thumb drive. I've never used a thumb drive before, and I've got all the pictures that we took in Bangkok on the thumb drive. One of the pictures corrupted the entire thumb drive, so I'm going to give my talk sans pictures. I'll tell you about the pictures. I won't be able to show them to you then. On May 23rd, Bunny and I returned from what was a fabulous 3-week tour of Asia. The first week was the convention in Bangkok. The next 2 weeks we went to China. I want to thank each and every one of you. The dues that we pay pays for the president-elect to go to the international convention every year. Now, I was president one time before. That was 1992. I was the president when Hurricane Andrew hit, and I got to take my wife to the international convention that year to Disney World. I made up for it later in the year. Took her to England and France, London and Paris. We came back, and a couple of weeks later, Andrew hit. The club was meeting at that time at a restaurant a block from Captain's Tavern called Capitano's. And the day after the hurricane hit, Capitano's was flattened. It's now on US 1. It's a Staples on US 1. It's no longer Capitano's. We made a decision to move our meeting site here, and I suggested at that time changing the name to the Rotary Club of Miami-Dade Land, which passed. And a few years later, Pinecrest incorporated, so we tacked their name on just to prevent somebody from setting up a Rotary Club of Pinecrest. We claimed that we're the Pinecrest Rotary. Anyway, getting back to Bangkok, the Rotary International provided us with a list, and Bunny basically took charge of this. She researched 58 hotels on the list, where they were located. We wanted something in the center of things. So she picked out a hotel called the Pastuan Princess. And I didn't know anything about it. Turned out, I found out later, it was a 5-star hotel, and it really treated us 5-star. It was adjacent to the MBK Center. If you know anything about Bangkok, MBK is a big shopping center. It's like an 8th-floor, Macy's with a movie theater on one of the floors. And either our first day or second day there, we were tired just from flying over. It was over 24 hours in the air. So we decided not to go sightseeing, and we went to MBK. We went there a couple times. They had some great Korean restaurants there, as well as Thai food. And we decided to go to a movie. The only movie we could find playing was The Avengers. It was a kiddie movie. I didn't realize how much of a kiddie movie it was. When I saw one of the actors in the movie introduced as Dr. David Banner, I said to myself, oh no, here comes the Hulk. Sure enough, he was one of the Avengers. But the interesting thing about the movie, and there was something interesting about it, we sat there was nothing going on, the screen was dark. All of a sudden, the screen went on, and here comes a picture of the King of Thailand. And it had to be taken 40 years ago, because the guy is in his 80s. And here's this black-haired man coming along, and it's got a dozen scenes of his life, all like 30, 40 years ago. And in the background is playing the national anthem of Thailand. And here's the thing that really got me is everyone in the theater arose. So Bunny and I looked at each other, and we stood up too. And, I mean, we stood for 5 minutes while they played the anthem and they showed the pictures of the king. They take that pretty seriously. Somebody criticized the king on the internet a few years ago, doing 20 years in prison. He passed away a few weeks ago, still in prison. You don't mess around with the king. The first speaker that I heard at the convention, the one to welcome us to Bangkok, was the princess, the king's oldest daughter. Now, she had to be around 60, but she looked like she was in her 30s. She was a young-looking woman. They brought her out on a wheelchair. They had 2 soldiers and scooted her out in a wheelchair. And I figured she probably couldn't walk. She must be crippled or something. And then she got up on high heels and walked to the podium. It was weird. And the president of Rotary International had just announced that the official language of the convention is English. So everything's going to be in English. And she welcomed us for about 5 minutes in Thai. So I figured, okay, we're going to get a translation, right? No translation. I don't know what she said. Until I got home, I looked on the Rotary International website, and they got everything. All the speakers' speeches are there, and they had a whole translation for her speech. And it was no big deal. It was just, you know, welcome to Bangkok, and we recognize all the good works of Rotary. I think she mentioned polio. Everybody else did that spoke to us. Our first evening in Bangkok, what I recall, was either the first evening or the second evening. I mean, we were pretty much wiped out the first couple of days there. We went to a production that Rotary put on of A Boy and a Tiger, which was a musical production based on the life of Pi. Now, about 10 years ago, Bunny and I each read The Life of Pi, and we really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic book. And the play went on for a good hour, and they stopped. That was the end of Act 1. We didn't know what was going on. Of course, we were tired. And so we got up, as everybody else did, walked out to the lobby, and we saw most of the people were continuing on out of the place. Let me explain that the Rotary International set up buses. Most of the hotels were a good half hour away from the impact center where the convention was. So they had a series of buses that would pick us up and take us to functions in the morning. And in the afternoon, these same buses every 15 minutes would take us back to the hotels. So this particular evening, they had all the buses lined up. People, after the end of the first act, most of the Rotarians, I think, got on the buses. Buddy and I, too. And we went back to the hotel, a half hour to get back. But, and we met a lot of interesting people. I met, one time we were on buses, we met Israeli Rotarians. There were 5 of them. And 4 of them were Jewish Israeli Rotarians, and one was an Arab, and they were good friends. And we met Egyptian Rotarians. One time I sat between a Chinese Rotarian and an Indian Rotarian. A lot of Indian Rotarians there. You know, remember, we were in Bangkok, so it was easy for the Indians to get there. There were a lot of Indians, a lot of Australians, a lot of Nigerians. Again, because of where we were, a lot of people in the areas close to Southeast Asia came to the convention. Didn't see any from Saudi Arabia or Pakistan. Yeah, there were some from Pakistan, believe it or not. I attended the opening session after 2 or 3 days. I told you about the princess. Most of the speakers at the convention talked about Rotary's quest to end poverty in the world, and there's a lot of things that they're doing different clubs are doing, and Rotary International to combat poverty, and of course polio. And they made a big thing of the fact that this past year they were able to certify that there was, for the first time, no polio anywhere in India. And presently, polio exists today in Pakistan, Nigeria, and Afghanistan. And they're putting millions and millions of dollars into the fight to keep that going. And we've had a lot of Rotarians from our district that have gone to India to put the drops in the mouths of the little children there. And in fact, they're organizing another trip to India later this year. And if any of you want to go to India, they can probably use your help to keep it going there and going to these other countries as well. The keynote speaker was a man named Hugh Evans, 27-year-old Australian, who's the CEO of the Global Poverty Project. And he talked about when he was 14 years old, he went to, I don't know if it was Kuala Lumpur or some Asian country. Again, from Australia, he was able to go to a lot of little countries around Thailand, Burma, and places like that. And he went to countries where people were basically starving and needing help with agriculture and with food. And he actually slept on the floor of a tent with a family that he was trying to help. So at 14, he got started with doing some humanitarian work. And in 2004, the Australia Day Council awarded him the title of Australian of the Year, Young Australian of the Year. Again, he's 27 today, so he was closer to 20 then. One of the orators that impressed me the most was Shiv Khera. He's a motivational speaker from India and author of the book You Can Win. And he quoted some chapters from the book, and I just found him very inspiring. I didn't quote anything from the book, for my talk, but if you want to check it out, the book is You Can Win. The last name of the author is Khera. And we also heard from Jillian Sorensen, the Senior Advisor of the United Nations Foundation. She's a national advocate of matters related to the United Nations. And she basically reminded us that Rotary was there at the start of the UN. The United Nations was started by the United States and other countries, and several NGOs, non-governmental organizations, including Rotary. And Rotary is still there, has an office at the UN, and is in an advisor capacity on several United Nations subsets. For me, the highlight of the convention was a speech by Dr. Muhammad Yunus. He's a world-renowned economist, and he's the 2006 Nobel Peace Prize winner. He's from Bangladesh. He's founded a bank called Gameen Bank, and it's an institution that provides microcredit for people that cannot otherwise get loans. And small loans, about $1,000, $1,500, and it's for people without collateral, to help them establish creditworthiness and financial self-sufficiency. I was surprised to hear that this bank is helping poor now. It's gone worldwide. It's helping poor people in New York, Detroit, and 3 other cities. Not in Miami yet, but it's spreading around. Dr. Yunus said that the bank does not utilize written contracts, so there's no need for lawyers. I'm wondering how in the hell can they enforce these contracts. He said that the average loan is $1,500, and the biggest surprise was that 98% of the loans are repaid. And again, I don't know how they do that, but I wanted to ask him how they're able to ensure the loans would be repaid without contracts. And I planned to attend a workshop at 2:30 that afternoon to ask him some questions. And at 2:25, I found myself deep in AOL. I was in the Internet Cafe at the House of Friendship. I spent quite a bit of time there checking over my email and just keeping in touch. And I started to head over for Dr. Eunice, and then I looked at my booklet of the program, and I saw that it was in a building across the way. And this Impact Center, let me explain that I didn't walk anywhere. I signed up the first day I got there for a scooter, and just like they have in Publix. It was one of those things, and I just scooted up and down and back, and even with the scooter, it would have taken me about 10-15 minutes to get over to where Dr. Eunice spoke. So I looked at my program guide, and I ended up going to a workshop close by on using social media to strengthen your club, where the panelists were Rotarians from Ontario, Italy, and Los Angeles, and they discussed the use of Facebook, Twitter, and other social media sites to help direct people to your website. Very interesting. I did make a lot of notes on that. I got those at home. The next morning, the keynote speaker was William Boyd from New Zealand. He's the trustee chair of the Rotary Foundation, and he was followed by several informative speakers, including Dr. Bruce Aylward, the Assistant Director General for Polio Emergencies and Country Collaboration at the World Health Organization, known as the WHO. On the last day of the convention, President-elect Sakuji Tanaka, remember that name, he's now president of Rotary, Sakuji Tanaka, outlined his goals and encouraged Rotarians to continue to fight to end poverty and finish the job of eradicating polio. Our second evening of the convention, we attended the Southland Cruise, which was just for Florida and Carolina Rotarians. I forgot if it was North or South Carolina, but it was one of them. And we were able to basically hobnob with people from our district. It was a small group of people from the district that was able to get to know better, and they were able to get to know us. And it was advertised as a dinner cruise, but all they had was hors d'oeuvres, so we kind of picked out on the hors d'oeuvres. One afternoon we went to the Jim Thompson home, Jim Thompson house, and this is one of the pictures I wanted to show you. Jim Thompson was an American, an architect. He fought in World War II, and while he was there, he was stationed in Thailand. He kind of fell in love with the country. He went back there after the war, and he basically established the silk trade in Thailand. And one of the interesting sights, and they do have a picture of this, a gentleman sitting at around a bowl where he's boiling silkworm pupae, and out of the pupae he's drawing strings of silk, basically extracting the silk from the pupae, and we just watched that with our eyes wide open. That was interesting. And Thompson had put together about 6 houses into one big house, and basically he went around Southeast Asia collecting art, statues, and a lot of art, and it's got them in each room. So we went from room to room, looked at the art, looked at the statues, and looked out on the city, because it's basically in the heart of downtown Bangkok. On our last evening in Bangkok, Bunny and I saw Siam Niramit, which is one of the largest stage productions in the world. And in that production, they depict Thailand's historical and spiritual heritage, focusing on the different regions of Thailand. Heaven, hell, and happiness are all parts of this production. And preceding the production, we had a buffet dinner. The Siam Niramat is every night people go to see the production, and ahead of time they go to the dinner. It was really a delicious dinner, and then we went to see the play, I guess you'd call it, and play included the appearance of a live goat and an elephant on stage. And when they marched the elephant off stage, it came back and it basically went right behind us. It was amazing. But it shows the history of Thailand, different regions of Thailand. And we went to Suan Chidlata, which is the King's Palace, and it's made up of numerous buildings, pavilions set around open lawns, gardens, and courtyards in extremely close proximity to each other. Grand Palace is Bangkok's most famous landmark. It was built in 1782, and for 150 years it was the home of the king. Royal court and administrative seat of government. The Grand Palace of Bangkok continues to have visitors in awe with its beautiful architecture and intricate detail, all of which is a proud salute to the creativity and craftsmanship of the people within its walls. Within its walls were also the Thai War Ministry, State Departments, and even the Mint. Today the complex remains the spiritual heart of the Thai kingdom, and several impressive buildings are included in the Wat Phra Kaew. It's K-A-E-W, and that's where they have the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, which contains the small, very famous, and greatly revered Emerald Buddha that dates back to the 14th century. I looked up the Emerald Buddha, and part of it goes back to Sri Lanka. Part of it goes back to Burma and Cambodia. These countries were all fighting back in the 14th or 15th centuries, and I guess whoever got the Emerald Buddha was the big king of the area. It forms an important ritual in the Buddhist calendar. Thai kings stopped living in the palace around the turn of the 20th century, but the palace complex is still used to mark all kinds of other ceremonial and auspicious happenings. And I got all sorts of pictures of the Grand Palace and the areas surrounding, and I'll show them to you the next time I can get a working thumb drive. We took an interesting ride on a tuk-tuk. It's an open cart attached to a motor scooter. It's kind of a replacement for a taxi. And we saw traffic jams that made Miami's traffic look like a speedway. People would just cut people off, no problem. And just didn't seem to be much traffic enforcement. I expected to see traffic accidents. I saw one on the last day, but the drivers know when somebody's cutting them off that they better slow down or they'll have an accident. The place, the city was beautiful. They had shrubbery, the landscape, everything was landscaped. But they had garbage all over, like in the streets. And the buildings needed painting. They were all shabby, but the landscaping was beautiful. The trip to Bangkok itself was a tiring 27 hours from the time we left Miami and landed in Bangkok. Our flights included, or was basically United Airlines. It took us first from Miami to the Washington Dulles Airport, where the person that, both Bunny and I, from the time we got to the ticket counter to the time we got to the plane and and then back to our luggage. We're carted around in wheelchairs because we both have trouble walking. And believe me, it's a long walk from the ticket counter to the airplane and from the airplane to the luggage. So we appreciated those rides. And the man that pushed me was Ethiopian. His wife was pushing Bunny, also Ethiopian. And thought that was interesting. What was really interesting, he told us that 80% of the employees in the airport doing basically what he and his wife are doing are Ethiopians. I never realized that about the Washington, D.C. airport. From Washington, D.C., we were supposed to go straight to Bangkok with a stop in Tokyo. So we spent about 3 hours in Tokyo. The taxis to get to downtown Tokyo and back would have run us about $100, and we were tired, so we just kind of sat there and took a little nap until we got back on the same plane and then went to Bangkok. It was a total of 27 hours.
What airline? What airline?
It was United,
United, okay.
All the way. And we took Thai Airways on our trip from Bangkok to China, and they were supposed to be a top-notch airway. We felt very crowded in there. And I guess if we'd have gone first class or business class, it would have been okay. But we were packed in like sardines. On the big trip that we took from Washington to Bangkok, there were 2 crying babies the entire way. So, yeah. Bunny said that they need to have something in their mouth. Their ears are not adjusted to the pressure, but young parents. And, so that was Bangkok. From Bangkok, we went to China and got really good pictures in China. I don't know if I can get into that right now, but in China we hired a tour company called Pacific Delights, and there were supposed to be anywhere from 3 couples to a dozen couples, and get on a van or a bus, and for whatever reason they told us nobody else signed up. We were the only ones, and for an extra $200 we could have a tour guide and driver to ourselves on each stop. So that was the deal. So we paid an extra $200, and we had our own tour guide. The advantage of it was if the tour guide was taking us to 4 or 5 different places, if we said, hey, we're done, we want to stop, there's nobody else to object, and so we basically wanted our own speed. We did go on the Great Wall of China. Got up pretty much, we got on the wall itself. There was a place to go walking higher on the wall, and you know, I was on the wall, so that was enough. I didn't we went to Tiananmen Square, and we went to 4 cities. We started in Beijing, and then we went to Qian, where we saw the terracotta soldiers. And we went to Wuhan, I think it's called, a big boat right there, and then Shanghai. That was the 4th, Shanghai, and we spent a few days there. 2 of the hotels we checked out ahead of time. So this won't do. They said we would basically have 4 or 5-star hotels, but a couple of them were so bad we said, nah, go up a notch. But we ended up staying at a Sofitel in one city, and that was great, fantastic. Food was good, and let's see, the Shanghai, We stayed at the Rex Carl. Is it Rex Carl? Ritz Carl. Yeah. And that was 5-star and really good.
Monday morning.
In Beijing, we went to a hotel called the Capital, which was supposed to be 5-star, but Bunny's got a very good sense of smell. She detected mold as soon as she walked into a room, and she said, She had the manager come up there close to midnight, and she pointed out the mold smell, and we ended up checking out, testing 6 rooms before we found one acceptable. We wanted to shower a certain way, we wanted the room to smell good and everything else, so we ended up staying at the Capitol, and we went shopping, and I bought a Kindle the month before. I loaded a couple books on the Kindle. I figured I'll read the book on the Kindle. And I got halfway through a Carl Hiaasen book. Bunny dragged me to some shopping at this big 6-story building. And we went floor by floor. I stopped to eat. I was reading the book, and then I don't know what happened with the book. I think I could get put it in Bunny's purse or something happened. But all I know is couldn't find it. We got back here. This was on the 11th or 12th of May. We got back here. I saw that books and other things were charged to Kindle on the 12th and the 14th, and so we canceled out Kindle, and they gave us a refund, and they canceled the registration, so if the person tries to order something else, they won't get it. That was the one downer of the whole trip. Bunny also found all the streets were crowded with people, and then there were side streets. She found a side street where there was nothing but food of a different kind. And so she said I had to see it. So we went down there, and we got these on pictures too. Got big frogs. They're dead on a stick. And lizards. Another booth had lizards on a stick. And
how many of those did you try, Ron?
Tell her what you did eat.
Little turtle.
Dave, do you have that in
doves on a stick, baby doves.
You get that?
What I did find, one area that was interesting, were scorpion shish kebabs. 3 scorpions on a stick. And the top one was still kicking. And there were dozens of these sticks. So I watched for a while. What they did was they would take the stick, put it in boiling water for a couple minutes, and then take it back out, and then cook it, fry it, whatever. And people would buy it and eat it. I figured, what can hurt? So I ordered one.
Scorpion?
Yeah, scorpion. Put it in the hot water. They fried it. And they gave it to me. I bought it, and took the first bite. Tastes like French fries.
Crispy critters.
So I ate it all 3.
Oh, nasty.
So Ron, you're the scorpion king now?
Nasty.
Well, all this is in hot water. I wanted to go back and try some of the others, but Bunny said, okay, we've got to move on, so we did. But it was a fantastic trip, and sometime in July, I will show you the pictures from China, which just amazing. Some of the things that they were selling at that street. We took a lot of photos in that street.